This is my 2006 Toyota Avensis with a 2.2 4-cylinder diesel engine and a 6-speed manual gearbox. I'm going to show you today how to change the front discs and pads. So just before I take all the caliper off, I'm just going to check that these discs fit. So I'm just going to put this over the top of the old disc back to front. Brilliant. So you can see the new disc fits perfectly on the whole arrangement that I've got. The part number for this is APEC DSK 2513. So this is the one from Halfords, and discs and pads from Halfords came to £120. Switch your ignition key to position 1 so you can move the steering. I'm going to pull using the caliper and push with the track rod end, like that. Now take some WD-40 and we're going to spray on the bolts that sit behind here which hold the caliper on. That bolt there and that bolt there. While the WD-40 is soaking through, we're going to take off the caliper with using these bolts here. It's best if you use a shallow impact socket, one with 6 sides, and then that'll grab on better than a 12-sided one. This is a 13mm bolt, and because it's corroded quite a lot, it doesn't go on straight away. So you will have to hammer it on first, just slightly. Then get your power bar. And there we go, it cracks off nicely. Once the bolt's cracked off, use a ratchet to do the rest. Don't fully loosen it yet. Now the bottom bolt. Before you take the bolts out completely, give it a little knock with a hammer. Now if this were new it would just fall off, but you need to get a screwdriver or some lever in there. You'll need one of these. It's called a paint can hook from Wilko. Costs about £152. And I'll use this to hook one side onto the caliper and the other side onto the spring housing, because the only thing holding this caliper up once I take it off will be this hose. Now this flexible hose is quite weak, and you don't want to disturb the brake hose too much. Now the caliper's out the way, we can now take parts out. For this one, just get the screwdriver in between there. And don't worry about marking the disc because I'm going to be replacing that. There we go. So there is a slight difference between the outer brake pad and the in-out pad, so we'll just have to make note of that. Now we can take this housing off. So take a 17mm shallow impact socket and put it on there. This will need to be hammered on due to the corrosion that bolt is subject to. Now take your impact bar That's it. Now the top bolt here, I can't actually get the impact socket on while using a power bar, so I'm going to have to resort to a spanner for that one, unfortunately. Just for a bit extra leverage, I'm going to put a spanner on a spanner, and that way you can get more leverage and more control. Now this comes off straight away. That's great. In this case the disc is quite slack, which is great. If it wasn't, you could simply tap the edge, turn the whole disc round, keep on tapping until it came off. But in this case, it just comes off. I don't know if you can see that, but you can hear all these flakes of corrosion that have come off the inside of the disc. You can see the difference between the new disc and the old one. Even though there's a fair bit meat on the old disc, the amount of corrosion through the centre and in the middle is quite excessive. Take a wire brush and just scrape behind the wheel hub, just to make sure you've got any excess corrosion. I'm going to put a little bit of copper slip on this. This is just copper slip put into an old toothpaste dispenser. Just put a couple of dots on, and next time you come to change discs and pads, you've still got the car, it'll be a lot easier to take the old disc off. You'll notice there's a small hole there. There's no hole in the hub. Sometimes hubs will come with a hole so that you can screw the disc into the hub and it holds steady while you put the wheel on, but there's no need to do that, because as you put the, yes, it is a little bit, it does flap around a little bit, but remember, once the wheel goes on there, that will be held firm on with the torque of the bolts around the wheel. I'm just going to wipe off the excess copper grease that I put on. These are the APEC pads that would be central outputs. You can see where the calipers slide along, that all this dirt builds up, so just get a brush, just get a screwdriver even, and just scrape away any excess muck. Before I put this caliper holder back onto the hub, I'm going to put a little copper grease in there where the brake pads will slide, and that's important so they don't get sticky and your brake pads don't wear out prematurely. If you forget how the brake pads came off the car, go around and have a look at the other side and just do the opposite of that as a reference. That's one side in. Now the other side. That side was a lot easier. Okay, that's ready now to go on to the disc. So I'm just putting the top bolt in there. I'm just putting that in finger tight for now, because the bottom bolt has to go on and that has to be lined up first. Once you're happy that this is on and aligned, you can then go ahead and tighten it up with a 17mm spanner at the top. Now you want to put this on as tight as you can, just with the spanner, because this is an important part of the brake caliper mechanism. And now the bottom bolt. This can be put on with a 17mm. Again, as hard as you can, but just with the length, using the length of your ratchet. You don't want to be using a power bar to tighten these. Just as a reminder, which brake pad you're using. So this is the passenger side or the near side, and you want this bracket to be up instead of down. Now we can go ahead and put the brake caliper back on. Remember to take this out. If I just swing this wheel round, you'll see how thick the pads and the new disc are. The gap between the new discs and the pads is greater than where the old discs and pads. So you can see how much pad and disc have gone down by. So what we need to do is to push this piston back into there so we can fit the new discs and pads in that gap. So you put the G-clamp around there, between there and there. You must make sure that you don't press on that bit there or the rubber bit. So you must get it right on this metal rim. You can see it slowly going back in there to its housing. Just before I put the caliper back on, I'm just going to put a bit of copper grease right where the fingers will go over the brake pad. And this will mean this can go over there without it sticking. And also I'm going to put a little bit on the other side of the brake pads where this part, where this metal rim will sit. This is very rough, this, you don't have to be exact. Just do a circular motion like that. Now we can stick it back on. Just make sure that piston is put in like that. And you're putting your 13mm bolts back in there and there. So just finger tight, just till you get them aligned again. Just give it a wiggle while you're putting it in. I don't know if there's a technical term instead of using the word wiggle. Transfer motion from side to side. There we go. So once you're happy these are in, this is all aligned, you can go ahead and tighten these 30mm bolts up. Now these don't have to be as tight as a 17mm, hence why they're 13mm and not 17, so tight but not overly tight. So as tight as you can with one hand. Now you can see through the centre there, and you can see the new pad, how thick it is there. It's brilliant. The new disc, and then the pad again on that side. If I just turn the wheel, you'll be able to see that a bit more clearly. So you can see the disc going around there, but obviously the pads are stationary either side. The next thing you have to do is pump the brake pedal up, and this is because we've squeezed that piston back in there to allow room for the new discs and pads, and because of that, if we do the same the other side without pressing the brake pedal, the brake fluid will have nowhere to go and it will come out the brake fluid reservoir. Push the brake pedal. The first time you do it, it'll go all the way to the floor, but just keep pressing the pedal and eventually it'll stiffen up until you can't put it down very far there. So now we're okay to go ahead and do the other side. Before you put the wheel on, just put a little bit of copper slip. Again, like we did between the hub and the disc, this time it's going to be between the disc and the wheel. And that'll just ensure that next time you need to take the wheel off, it doesn't stick. Well, as you spin the wheel, you will get a slightly grating sound, and that's due to the new pads. There's very little room between the new discs and the new pads, so that will go eventually, but that's a good sign that everything's okay. Once you've changed your discs and pads, it's always a good idea to bleed the brakes, and we'll show you how to do this in another video.